to testify, we'll have you come up and take the podium. But if you intend to testify, please stand right now and I'm going to swear you in so that you can testify from that. So everyone, please stand at the same time that wants to testify. We'll want to hear from. We do want to hear from everyone. I expect this to be very respectful. We have plenty of time to hear from everyone. So we will call you on you and you will have the floor, hopefully without interruption, okay? So please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statements you make and or the evidence you will present in this manner shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please be seated. Thank you.
I would just have him,
Okay, Johnny, you want to come up? We're going to have you go to the podium, and if you want to just present your complaint, that would be great.
And thank you. If I could for housekeeping, would you state your name?
Yes, it's Johnny Smith, and I live in.
And you were sworn in.
Yes,
Okay.
yep. So on July 2nd, 2026, I filed a request for investigation into the breach of public trust and harassment. So I'll just read this so the members of the audience can also hear this. So, dear election board members, my name is Johnny Smith, and I am a resident of Attica, Indiana, and an elected common councilman for the city of Attica. I am formally requesting an investigation into the unauthorized sharing of my private data associated with my vote that was cast in the Republican primary on May 2nd, 2026 at approximately 9 a.m. It is well chronicled the harassment and political weaponization that has been occurring since I have been elected. Upon my arrival at early voting, two poll workers that were familiar to me included Ms. Cindy Mason and Ms. Valerie Moss, both residents of Attica. Also present was a member of the Fountain County clerk staff, Vicky Denmark. I decided that I would use my USA issued passport to verify my identity. Both ladies took exception to the fact that I used that form of ID, but agreed to accept it because it was legal. I went on to vote without any issues. On or about June 15th, 2026, I was contacted by many concerned people about a Facebook post that was created by Denise Brownson, who's in the room here. There's three attached exhibits that I'll go to. Clearly, Brownson had been given information about my vote that included the use of my passport that only a maximum of 4 people would have had direct knowledge. And that would be me, Becky, and Ms. Moss and Ms. Mason. And what's more importantly, that this information was used to sow discord. The fact that this information was shared is wrong, but the fact that it was shared to create a narrative to try to unseat my elected position as a leader. I am requesting an investigation into what additional information was leaked or shared. I want to know who was responsible for the breach of public trust. I want Denise Brownson interviewed so that we learn of the sources of this weaponized information. Depending on the findings, I would request that any person involved would be formally reprimanded and restricted from working with any election process again. My emailing address is 400 South Union Street, Attica, Indiana, and has been since I moved to Attica in 2020. Thank you for consideration in this concerning matter. Now, the attachments that I have provided, these came off of everybody's favorite Feathers and Top Watch Facebook page. And of course, there's different levels when we have information. Okay, when you get information and you just talk to another person about it, that's one thing. Okay, but then you send an email out to a group of people, that's something else. But when you go to the trouble of not just keeping it within your Facebook group, but going to a page like the Feathers and Top Watch, that's really there to sow discord. And that's exactly what happened. And so the first is, I'm going to read the first part of it because this is the main post, and then I'm just going to read Ms. Robson's comments. Paula Copenhaver allowed John Smith II to run for an Attica City Council seat 2 years ago. By law, you have to live in the district you are running for at least 1 year prior to the election. She was advised that Mr. Smith doesn't live in Attica. In fact, he lives in West Lafayette. She refused to do anything about it because it would make her look bad since she was running for the state senate. That was the main post. Then there were all kinds of noise, that came across, but the most concerning posts here are Denise Brownson, one of her posts. She says, it would go a long ways if she were to apologize for allowing him to run when he didn't qualify and remove him from office. He can also be banned from ever running for office in another election for the rest of his life. This needs to happen since he was fraudulently collecting funds from the city of Attica. When he doesn't qualify to hold a seat, he only got it because he was unopposed. The second page of this is, I'm assuming you guys have this. You have a copy of this?
We would like you to read it into the record, please.
Okay. Then, about maybe 12 hours later, she posted again. And this is the one that really caught my attention. Because obviously, in being in political office, you have to have a thick skin. Councilman Smith even filed his taxes using Robin Hood Lane address in West Lafayette. When he voted in May, he used his passport instead of his driver's license, because his driver's license still has his West Lafayette address on it. How she knew that I had a West Lafayette driver's license is unbeknown to me as well. By law, you have to update your license within 60 days of moving. He had never said he lives here. He only states that he gets his mail here. He has been on our council for 2 years while conning the citizens of Attica. So there's all kinds of things going on with this public post. And clearly it's weaponized to sow discord and to try to, cause problems however possible for me. And I will also, at the same time, to kind of support this, the person that we're dealing with here, just loves Facebook, and loves making comments. And I mean, you guys can kind this also. In the same vein, but on another page, and I'm calling this Facebook post number 1. This is on somebody's name by Tracy Smith, who I don't know. But as you go down and you listen to the comments, Denise Rousey back at it again, and she says, Lori Ferguson, no, this wasn't caused by the Attica people. It was caused by the Fountain County Chair, Paula Copenhaver, and the election board. It's all on them for not doing their due diligence. Facebook post number 1. Facebook post number 2. Again, on Tracy Smith's page, Denise Rousey. It is not normal. He was allowed to run because the person and the committee that allowed it did not do their due diligence. They failed the citizens of Attica. I'm hoping they don't fail us again. Yet again, I personally think because this has to do with Attica, the hearing should be here in Attica. Tracy Smith, I can understand. I am prepared for hearing. Other than my letter of complaint, I didn't turn any of my evidence in early. I have quite the stack. I'm prepared. Let's see. This is on Tracy Smith's page again, and Denise Rousey is again chiming in, and to somebody by the name of Orlando Chin. I don't know who that is. Yes, and by state constitution, you must live in your district for a year previously to election. He doesn't even live here. He has been asked 3 times at city council meetings where he lives and refuses to answer. The sad thing is, this meeting on Friday is a farce. They are just doing it to say they held it, but have no intention of doing anything about it. I was told by one of the election board members that they had no recourse because he was elected. but after doing much research, that simply isn't true. He only got in because no one ran against him. Okay, so I have another Facebook post, but I'll save that for later in the show. So. Honestly, I'm sick of my public information, my private information being made public, and not only that, but weaponized. And so that's my complaint.
Denise, would you like to take the stand, please?
I have.
So right now, we're referring to Mr. Smith's complaint about the passport.
Okay. I will admit I did, with those posts.
Can you state your name?
My name is Denise Routson, I live at 1008 South Perry Street, Mattapan, Indiana.
And Denise, you previously had the oath of minister, you correct?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. To answer what he was saying. The only thing I heard from a citizen about him using his passport, I did not hear it from anyone that was at the election board. Or at the actual election poll that day, there were other people there. That saw it and it went like wildfire in him, so. You know how small towns are. So that's how I found out about it and. Rightfully so, there's concern about that. As far as the other information that I have, I had, first of all, I was told that when I called in about the complaint. That there would be, that there was anything that could be done really. That it was, that I could file it, but there wouldn't be much done, is what I was told. As far as throwing Paula under the bus, yeah, I did, because Paula's the last stop and she should have done her due diligence to see where he lived. And not go by what she thought. His license didn't even match up at the time. I have proof, undeniable proof, that he has lived in Tiverton County this entire time. So there is. What I have said, I have not defamed him, as he says, I've used facts. I don't put anything online that I don't have backup. Or that I have not been told. So, any other questions?
Yes, we have several questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I want a specific name of who told you that he used his passport.
I don't remember. I heard it from several people, but I don't remember.
Because if we have a name, we can go back and we can check to see who was in the polling place at the same time he was. To verify the information. If you can't give us a name, then
I don't remember, but I do know that he used it. He never denied it.
Well, technically, it's a matter of public record that he did not use his driver's license.
Right.
It's not a matter of public record that he did not, that he used his passport. So someone had to know that.
Several people saw him. And like I said, it spread through Attica like wildfire. So,
Becky, do you have anything to say about the polling place that day?
So I do know that day there were multiple people in at the same time. When Mr. Smith came in, I was over helping other voters at their machines. When he came in, presented his passport, for me, it meant absolutely nothing because it is absolute variable information to use. I came over, helped the ladies get checked in appropriately on the poll pad, and then the multiple other people in there at the same time.
Thank you. And I do want to ask you also, what did you think the election board did not do the due diligence on?
what I believe is that when we file our election paperwork, that I've been told. I wanna say by Paula, that she can disqualify anybody for any reason, and she also has said that. And that came out of her mouth, I have that in recording actually. And she has said, she has made comments to me about disqualifying people, okay? She obviously did not look into his address because it is very blatant all over the internet. that he lives in Tiverton County. Yeah, I don't believe his driver's license even matched Tiverton County at the time, or did match Attica at the time. And on top of that, if it is to 400 South Union Street, that is not a residence, that is a M1 industrial zoning. You cannot live in industrial zoning. So,
That's not a question the election board can decide.
what?
That's not a question that the election board can decide.
Right,
Zoning.
but what I'm saying is that he's, and he didn't live here a year before either election that he filed for.
So you have presented a lot of evidence here, which we would like to look at. But my specific question to you was, where did you think the election board did not do our due diligence?
By not looking to see where people live.
That's not our job. That is way beyond the authority of what we do. What we hear is when someone brings a complaint to us, we hear that complaint. Wasn't our job to investigate where he lived, where he sleeps, how many candidates file in an election? Many. There's
For that, I
no
don't
way
know.
over that.
Put that on something and I'm wrong, and I should not have, but the election board did not do their due diligence.
Where it's our job is when a citizen brings a complaint, we hear the complaint. You know, if we have the authority, we will rule on it. That's it. Okay. Anyone else have any?
Well, you mentioned that you called in and somebody told you that there would be nothing done.
Correct.
Do you remember who you spoke to?
Yeah, I spoke with Patty.
And I can clarify the conversation that some of the wording has been left out. So when she called, because it is not the election board's scope to unseat an elected official. What we do is we deal with candidates. And Mr. Smith is not a candidate, he's an elected official. And so off my top of my brain is no, we are not going to be able to unseat him. If that's what the outcome, if that's what everybody's looking for, is for us to unseat him, we cannot do that. So that's why I told you that. I also said I was gonna give all this evidence to the county attorney to look at, and that we were going to hold a meeting. So,
I was not told that we needed to turn in evidence ahead of time for him to look at. So,
Well, we have your evidence.
We
are going to look at it. We're not going to disregard anything given.
Okay.
yeah.
anything else that you need to ask, clarify?
Not on this matter.
Okay, so can I go ahead and do my presentation, or is it not time for that yet?
Yeah, well.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did I have a vote?
Yes. Thank you, Denise. I appreciate it.
So go ahead.
Good.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so my rebuttal to that is. When I went in there, and I do remember seeing Becky, and I do remember seeing two poll workers. But I do not remember seeing anybody else in there. And actually, when I went up to vote, there was nobody up there. Okay, so my testimony is that there was, to what I saw, there was nobody else in there. And so that means that she clearly knows who told her. She clearly knows, and she's not telling me. And so for that reason, I just, I don't believe what she said, so.
Okay, I. So is Denise, is this info pertaining just to the passport information?
No,
Or
it
is
has
it,
nothing to do with the passport.
it's gonna be to the next issue we talk about? All right. So, we'll discuss the passport thing first. And we can't get a name. We don't know who did it. Unfortunately, it's hard for us to do anything in this situation. The fact that you didn't use your license is public record. But as far as the clerk's office knows, no one called in to inquire about it. And it'll only say, even if they did, it'll only say driver's license or other ID. As it is, I want you to keep in mind that we have volunteers that are paid peanuts for serving on the voter boards on those days. And that they get training before they go in, and we try our very best to give them as much training as we can. And I think this is a good sign to us, Johnny, that we need to do a better job of letting them know what's private information and what is not. I don't know that it's the voter board that did this, because I think Becky indicated that there was a long line and there were people waiting in line to vote. So short of that, I don't know what we can do about that, except that to say, we will remember in our training for the next time to make that issue clear. And I'm sorry if you feel like that your rights have been denied. I'm not sure at this point, without having any names, that we know what to do. But we will instruct the voter registration board next time, I'm sorry, the voter board next time to be careful of people's privacies.
We'll also go back and we'll pull the list. Because we can see like specifically what time people were in to vote, like when they checked in. So we can go back and find, you know, a roundabout of who was in there. So.
Go ahead and get back to the podium.
If you would, please.
So clearly, we would have hoped that we would have found who did it, right? And so that information wasn't forthcoming. So now we have to go back to the sources, and Becky has already stated her position, but there's two other people that have not stated their position. So is that going to will the election commission follow backwards towards those two individuals?
Are those two individuals here today? In the
I
room?
don't know, actually, so.
We will absolutely talk to them.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now the next issue that's going to come before us is. Joe, speak first.
They're both, I mean, he's next to, I mean, it's both the same issue, so.
It's the same issue that's coming up. We have several people that would like to speak. Johnny, would you like to speak first on the residency issue?
The residency issue,
Just
so I.
Maybe just read this part of their complaint.
why don't you read your complaint? If you.
Ed Journell.
Ed Journell.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm going out of order, sorry about it.
The complaint. Let me go ahead. State your name again. Edward Earl. And you are under oath, correct, Mr. John? Yes, sir. Thank you. The complaint that I have filed with Patty, I did not bring with them, but what I have here in this, I told you. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, guys, it's the attorney in Indianapolis. I'll shut him off, but finally, he's calling us. That's why the phone was on, I apologize.
Do you want to read the complaint first, and you go into what I have here?
Yes.
I am a lifelong resident of Fountain County and have lived in Athens my entire life. I am filing this letter with the Fountain County Election Board as an official complaint in reference to a city councilman, Attica city councilman that has been living outside the city of Attica. His name is John A. Smith II. He has served as a councilman on the city council since January of 24. That actually is his current term. He served prior to that as an independent. And I did not do that one. Mr. Smith has been living at a residence located at 2217 Robertson Lane, West Lafayette, Indiana for several years. This would include even before he was elected to the city council. The entire time he has served on the city council and getting paid to do so, he has been living outside city limits. Mr. Smith is claiming that his mailing address is 400 South Union Street in Attica. That location is zoned for light industry and not residential. As a taxpayer and citizen of Attica, I think he should be immediately resigned from the city council. Since Mr. Smith lived outside the city of Attica while running to be elected to the city council, in my opinion, that could be considered election fraud. Also, since he also been getting paid to be on the city council while not living inside the city limits, he should have to pay back the money he's been paid to be on the council. In fact, that could be considered fraud itself. To back up this claim, I have attached the following documents I obtained from the website Beacon. These documents show that he is currently and has been claiming homestead tax deductions since the year 2021. It actually was back further than that. In order to claim the homestead deduction, the address must be used as your primary residence. In my opinion, that is considered tax fraud. My father once told me that a person's home is where they lay their head at night. Clearly, this is not the case with Windsor Smith. I am requesting the Fountain County Election Board open investigation regarding to this complaint. Thank you for your time on this matter.
So now what evidence have you brought to us?
I have some of the same evidence that I actually turned in there. It's the property tax one from this Lafayette address.
Okay,
And I also have in this binder where he's actually gotten speeding ticket citations. And whenever an officer, and I'm saying this as a prior law enforcement officer, whenever a law officer writes a citation, they correspond the address on the citation with what's on the driver's license. And he's received those. He's received multiple ones, but I've listed two. One in Fountain County, which was May 24th of 2023. And one in Montgomery County, which is July 24th of 2023. And as far as the property taxes go, the homestead deduction, that is actually, those are listed in between tab. Between tab 5 and 10.
so typically county tax payments between 2020 and 2026.
Yes.
When we have, and filed for the homestead.
Yes, the homestead deduction on those property taxes in Tiffany County.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else you'd like to present?
Yeah, I wanted to add to that.
Okay.
February 27th of 2026, he actually removed that homestead deduction after he was notified, hey, you're claiming that, that's not right.
What date was that? I'm sorry.
February 27th of 2026.
Okay.
But prior, homestead deductions were still on there. He still had claimed those prior to that, which is during the period that he was running for election and on the city council.
Okay, would you have anything else you'd like to present?
Yes. Several months ago, I got word that the city council was going to hear a possible zoning change for the old grade school. So it kind of got my curiosity up since I don't live very far from there. I got to looking into and watching the YouTube meetings of the city council. And I noticed Mr. Smith and how he conducted himself as a councilman. I also knew him from when I was in the police department. I met him several years ago. And I knew back then he didn't live in Attic. So it kind of got my curiosity up, so I started checking in things. And I came across some state statutes, and I'll just read you the state statute code number, the IC code number. In your packet, I've got what the state statute states. But if you want to look it up for yourself, it's up to you. The first one is IC 3-5-2.1-90. It actually states what the definition of a residence is. And that is where a person has a person's true and fixed and permanent home and principal establishment. And then next code is IC 36-4-6-2. This pertains to the common council. A member of the legislative body must reside within the city as provided in Article 6, Section 6 of the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and the district from which that member was elected.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't.
It's on your phone.
Six,
Can't fucking hear it.
Of the state constitution states. All county, township, and town officers shall reside within their resident within their respective counties, townships, and.
Yeah, you should have.
Shall keep their respective offices at such places therein and perform such duties as may be directed by law. Next IC code is 3-10-6-7.5. And we go down to number 2. It says this section applies to a municipal office elected during a municipal or general election. If only voters who reside in a legislative body district are eligible to vote in the election for legislative body member. In other words, he voted in the primary, his last primary, didn't live in Attica, he shouldn't have done it. That's against that IC code. Next IC code is 3-8-1-27, common council member. A candidate for membership on the common council of a second or third class city, which Attica is labeled as a third class city, must have resided in the city for at least 1 year and have resided in the district for which he's seeking election, if applicable, for at least 6 months before the election. In this case, that's not what Mr. Smith was doing. That's all the IC codes I have. He owns. I know of. 3 or 4 properties in Attica. Which most of them at one point were behind on taxes. The one property that he's claiming to receive his mental health. And you're right, you guys have nothing to do with the zoning part of it. But with him claiming that address as his mailing address, that's not his residence. He's residing in West Lafayette. He's claimed homestead deduction on his property taxes multiple years in a row. Which the only way you can do that is if that's your primary residence. I've clearly read what the state IC code is for the definition of residence. And I also read what must take place in order to run for election and hold the office. You have to reside in that district or town for at least 1 year in order to be on that council. And Mr. Smith has not done that. He can sit there and say, well, I've lived in that for X amount of days. That might be true, but that doesn't pertain to homestead deduction. That doesn't pertain to these IC codes, because it clearly states in black and white. It doesn't say X amount of days. It states 1 year prior. And that's all I have right now.
Okay.
And like I said, I mean, it's kind of explanatory when you read first part of the past.
Okay, thank you very much. Denise.
And I need that.
Well,
I need that letter back.
Okay. Is it possible that I can ask him a couple of questions and you both can kind of up there at the same time? I just have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, if you can hold on to that, we're gonna get to a point where you can do that. Okay, thank you, I think Ms. Ransom will. We'll have this, Ransom. Thank you very much, Mr. Carroll.
Good afternoon. I am not a good speaker like it, so I'm sorry that I got my notes.
Can you say your name again?
Denise Brownson,
Thank you, Denise. You're still under oath, correct?
yes,
Thank you.
okay, I talked about a folder with a packet in it. Do you want me to read my initial
Yes, please.
complaint? Okay. Dear Fountain County Election Board members, I have been a resident in Attica, Indiana for the past 26 years and a resident of Fountain County for about 35 years. I am hereby filing a formal complaint regarding Attica City Council member John A. Smith II. Councilman Smith not only does not live in Attica, but his behavior is also extremely unbecoming as a council member while serving on the Attica City Council. On the 9th of February 2026, Attica City Clerk Joanne Broadwater asked Councilman John A. Smith II to please put in writing where he was living. He stated, I just had it sent up there to the corner house. There's a guy up there that moved out. And I guess when he moved out, he forwarded all the mail. It just canceled everything. So I just haven't gotten to the post office. Councilman Smith admitted to not living where he was claiming an Attica as his residence. Councilman Smith resides at 2217 Robin Hood Lane in West Lafayette, Indiana, 47906 in Tiffany County. Councilman Smith was receiving a homestead credit of more than $180,000 between the standard and supplemental homestead credits until he was called out online by myself. He immediately, within a week, it was actually the very next day, and I got that through. Went to the Tiffany County Courthouse and had the exemption removed. He also changed the mailing address to his property located at 400 South Union Street, Attica, Indiana, 47918. Councilman Smith does not live at this location because the property is zoned as light industrial, not a residence. He also owns the property at 430 East Main Street in Attica, Indiana. However, that house is not livable condition. He stated that he had someone living there, but the gentleman moved out. That was due to the non-livable conditions of the house. On the 11th of May, 2026, Councilman Smith, in the council meeting, began arguing with Attica City Clerk Joanne Broadwater and Mayor Larry Grant regarding the responsibilities of the council after Joanne had passed out paperwork from the state that explained job roles and responsibilities. On May 11th, 2026, Attica City Clerk Joanne Broadwater asked Councilman Smith at approximately 1 hour and 28 minutes into the meeting for a second time this year where he resided and where his residence was located, He stated that he received his mail at 430 East Main Street, but that he does not live there. I am asking that Councilman Smith, Councilman John A. Smith II be immediately removed from the Attica City Council and that he be blocked from ever holding any office in the future within the state of Indiana. I also ask that he be made to pay back all money he collected while on the city council fraudulent. I appreciate your due diligence in this matter. It is important to remove any individual who does not qualify for this position that is held locally. Signed by.
Thank you. And do you have some evidence you'd like to present?
Yes, this is order. Sorry. Okay. All right, good afternoon, election board members and community. My name is Denise Ralston. I live at 1008 South Perry Street in Attica, Indiana. I've been a citizen advocate and at the above address for 26 years. I'm appointed to the APC and the PCA in 2024, and I want to make it clear that I am not representing the city boards I sit on. I am here as a concerned citizen using my expertise regarding this matter. I'm coming to you about an issue that has been ongoing in Attica for over 5 years, and which I have tried to address as soon as I became aware of it a year ago. I have filed complaints with the state officials and the Indiana State Police Detective Division at that time. It came to my attention that I needed to file a complaint with your department, and I did so immediately. My complaint is really quite simple. John Arthur Smith II is not a resident of Attica, Indiana, and I have undeniable proof that he is not a resident. As you can see, I've passed out folders showing the proof I have collected. I will go through each page to explain it as to what you're looking at. Showing the proof of residency. I will also prove Mr. Smith is not in Attica for a year before running for any office, which is required by Indiana code. And just to go back on what Mr. Burnell said, he's not been on the city council for 2 terms. It was 1. He did run as an independent the first time in, I believe, 2022. Which means he would have had to have been an Attica resident since 2021. Mr. Smith ran originally in 2021. Sorry, that was wrong. For once, for office, but lost to his opponent. He ran a second time in 2024 and won the seat unopposed. I can prove without a reasonable doubt that Mr. Smith has received a total of $689,723 in homestead deductions for his home in Tiffany County. According to the Department of Local Government Finance, the homestead deduction is a deduction for owner occupied primary residence. And the supplemental standard deduction is in addition to that homestead credit. As you can see, I've included the first 2 pages of my declared I sent into you. There's a couple of corrections that need to be done. The first one in paragraph 2, I stated that the time was approximately 11 minutes and 30 seconds. It was actually 11 minutes and 55 seconds where that had happened. In paragraph 3, I stated that that he had removed the homestead credit within a week. It was actually the next day. I do have that proof as well. And then in paragraph 4, I stated that happened at 51 minutes and 20 seconds, and it was 51 minutes and 17 seconds. So I want to make sure those corrections were made. Okay, for the rest of the packet. On page 3, if you look at that, there is an area that is highlighted plus circle. That is a lawsuit that was brought that I had found online. Of John Smith and his son Caleb. Where he states under oath that he was a citizen of Spencerville, Indiana. On February of 2025, he was sworn into city council January of 2025. And when he is going to deny that, and the next page is his father's obituary, and it has his name and his son, because he kept saying, well, that's not my son, but I brought it to his attention. Okay, let me get this out. The next page is the, and this really doesn't apply to what we're doing. The business entity report for Kudina, which is the business that has all his properties in Attica under. What I want to bring to the attention will be page 17. Page 17, I've got an area that is circled in black up on the kind of middle left side and with an arrow going to it. And that is showing that is light industrial, it's light blue, it's light industrial zoning. And you cannot live there, so he cannot claim that as his residence for election purposes, that's the only reason why I bring that up, it's not anything to do with zoning, it has to do with the fact that he cannot legally live there. Okay. Page 18 has the definition of the light industrial, showing that living there is not an option. Okay. Alright, I want to skip over the pictures so you can take a look at that when you get a chance. What I really want to go to is page 25. Discussing the homestead credit, and if you look at, I know that the picture isn't very clear, but if you look at that versus what I'm gonna show you in a moment, you'll see that they coincide. That is taken off of Beacon, and I called him out on Facebook on February 26th. The very next day, he went to the courthouse and had to change took the homestead credit off, and he changed his mailing address to 400 South Union Street, which, so be it. Okay. And he did, and I showed that he had $180,000 in homestead credit taxes on that at that point. Now, if we go to page 27. You'll see in the upper left corner, I circled it where it says January 7th, 2026. It is showing that Mr. Smith. That his property address is 2217 Robin Hood Lane in West Lafayette, but so is the deeded owner. So he was living there at the time. Okay, now if you go on the back, it shows the homestead credit. On the back of that page, page 28, it's right on the. Some pages went double sided, I'm sorry about that. So that shows the homestead credits. And we have it broke down a little bit further later, so. Page 29 has where he took it off, this was printed off on my computer on March 5th of 2026, shortly after he had taken that homestead credit off on February 27th. Okay. So you'll see that down below where it says owner, it has John A. Smith II and the address as 400 South Union Street in Atherton. Once again, that was just done. If you look at page 31. Page 31 has the history that is circled where he changed it on 2/27/26. He filed a form to remove the homestead credit and he also changed the mailing address. That shows his guilt, again, that he was called out the day before, and then the very next day he goes and changes it. Okay. On page 33 through 38, we have on the front, we have the homestead credits. And then on the back, I circled where it gave the definition of what qualifies as a homestead credit. And I circled that on each and every one of them. Okay. Now. If you notice, 2021, he got a deduction, homestead deduction of $151,365. In 2022, he received $159 and $159,380. 2023, he received $189,040, and in 2024 is $189,938. For a grand total of $689,723 that he has received in deductions while claiming he lives in Attica. So either he lives there and gets the homestead deduction, or he lives in Attica, and needs to fraud in Chittenden County. One way or another, there's something not kosher there. Okay. As stated previously, Mr. Smith had his homestead deductions removed on the 27th. Of 2026, which dropped his deductions for 2025, which is on the last page, so page 38. From to 28,320. That reduction on average is $144,110.75. That Tiverton County State by him changing that this year. Okay, and you notice he didn't change it until he was called out. Now that I have proven without a doubt that Mr. Smith lives in Tiverton County, he either lives there and gets homestead credits, or he lives in Attica and he doesn't qualify for the penalty, you can't have it both ways. So, now that I have, without a doubt, showed that he does not live in Fountain, Attica or Fountain County, I ask that Mr. Smith be removed from office. Immediately have a caucus that is well advertised ahead of any deadlines to fill his seat, to give as many citizens as possible a chance to run, and to ban him, so he can never run for office in the state of Indiana, which is allowable according to the state constitution. I also asked that he be ordered to pay back any money he received from the city of Attica while sitting on the city council, as well as any other fees, fines that his dishonesty about where he lives has caused. You have any questions for me?
We're gonna save those, come back to you at some point probably. Denise.
Oh,
Thank you very much. We wanted to get the complaints
That's
made
fine.
first, okay? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Smith, would you like to
I'd like to actually ask them some questions, is that okay, and have them answered?
come on up?
Okay, great. So I'd like to ask this same set of questions to most, both Mr. Perfect complainants, I guess, if that's okay.
Go ahead. We're gonna have some questions for you, but why don't you go ahead? Why don't you-
Sure. Okay, so I'd like both of them to respond to this. Of course, their entire argument centers on the homestead exemption, okay? And that's obviously where their head is and where they're focused, okay? But clearly, there's a lot of other things that are used to determine residency. So first of all, so you guys actually,
I'm
you can,
gonna stop you right there just a second, if that's all right. Denise, could you come up here and sit in the chair up here and show Mr. Durham also, please? Here's great, thank you.
Okay, so it seems like you guys are pretty sure about all of your, statements about that they're true and they're true and that question, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So at the time that you made the allegation against me, you had not spoken to me at all about my residence. You didn't talk directly to me.
I didn't have to.
You didn't have to.
No,
Okay,
I found all the information online, it's all public record.
okay, but don't you think that it would have been important to talk to me?
Public record would be better than your answer.
Okay. And you didn't speak with anyone else who lives with me in that.
With you?
Yes.
You don't live with.
Okay, so you didn't speak with anybody.
No, because you.
I do not know who you live with, I don't know,
So you didn't attempt to talk to anybody.
I don't need to because it's all public record.
Okay.
Public record.
So your statement is based entirely on a GIS entry that shows I've owned property in Tippecanoe County for nearly 30 years. You didn't speak to anyone who resides in that property that I own in Tippecanoe County, did you?
Actually, I didn't go off of just those tax laws. But that wasn't priority.
Yeah, I know my question is very specific. You didn't
answer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I also mentioned the the citations that you recently for like, I know it's for student. And I don't know who lives at that residence, I'm not gonna go knocking on the door, that's not my job.
Well, you're very specific that I didn't live, or that I lived there. So I would think if you're so specific, you would have actually knocked on the door and said, hey, who's home?
All the public record that I found does show that you live there.
Okay,
Johnny, I have a question for you.
No, it's my turn. So. So Denise, you did speak to Tiffany County government officials, didn't you?
Oh, I did, absolutely, sure did.
Okay.
Called a public complaint.
Okay. So, So which Tiffany official did you talk
I
to?
have no clue,
So you don't have the name?
not with me now.
Okay. Okay, so you've made these statements also on Facebook, on social media, and you stand by those statements?
Oh, absolutely did,
Okay,
with the exception of my comment about the election board.
so you made a statement that, both of you have made a statement that I've committed fraud.
Oh, absolutely.
I said that you considered fraud. That's not saying that you committed it, I'm saying that you could be considered.
Okay.
That's
And,
the difference.
and also, when you talked with the Tiffany County officials about my homestead, did anybody say anything about fraud?
I didn't talk to officially about.
No, it's not, this is.
No.
Oh.
No, not at the moment, but there, I
Okay, but
did
then-
contact
okay,
the state
so-
police as well.
Okay, but so Tiffany County said nothing about fraud?
No.
Okay, all right, and you,
No.
and you.
Because they can't prove that you don't live there, so you're getting a homestead credit, which means you technically live there. If you live there, you can't live in Attica. You can't live both places and get a homestead credit there and be on our council.
Okay.
One or the other is not current,
But how do you get fraud out of it?
because if you're sitting on a council
If
that you.
Tippecanoe County did not tell you that there was fraud, then how would you get fraud out of that? And how
Because-
would you be allowed, how would you take yourself to Facebook and say that I committed fraud?
I can say that with an undeniable proof that you have been getting a homestead credit the entire time you have ran for and been on the council.
The homestead credit is independent of the claim of fraud.
The homestead credit,
You're claiming that I was fraudulent.
the definition of the homestead credit, deduction for owner occupied primary
I don't.
residence.
I don't.
Of course not, because you're
Okay,
getting caught.
we're gonna stop right here. If you can just stay there if you like. We have some questions for you.
Sure, go ahead.
So do you consider that you live in Attica?
Absolutely.
Since when?
Well, it was when I first bought the property down at 400 South Union, it's pretty rough, and so we had to do a lot of work. And so I started sleeping down there, actually, it wasn't even closed all the way, and I remember possums actually getting in under the walls and stuff. But as we continued to go, it got a lot better, and we got running water, we got showers, we got all the stuff in there, so yeah, I mean, I lived there.
So since when approximately?
I would say like full time, where I would consider, I would say probably. 20, somewhere towards the later part of 2020. Yeah,
So for 6 years approximately.
yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Okay. And how long have you had a driver's license saying that you lived in Fountain?
It's, I have had a driver's license, at 400 South Union for, since June. Since June of this year.
Of this
June
year?
Yes,
What held you up from getting driver's license?
I'm lazy,
I'm sorry,
I'm lazy.
okay, questions to you?
Property in Attica, who is the deed owner of that property?
The property that I'm paying as residence,
Yes,
that is a Codina LLC.
and who owns Codina LLC?
Codina LLC, is, Codina LLC was created with, when we came to Attica to, we started buying properties and I put all of the properties in my son's name, Caleb Smith. Okay, and then a couple of years later, that there was a transition that took place where I bought properties from him. So that occurred about within the last year or so.
So have you changed ownerships with Fountain County to reflect, do you currently own 400 Union Street or is it still in? So have you changed with the Secretary of State's office to amend your LLC?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was the, I have to look if the paperwork was, that was done.
Is Caleb the only person listed on the LLC then?
He was, yes.
Do you have more information to present to us?
Oh, sure, a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is gonna go a little bit longer. Okay.
We want to hear just exactly what you have to.
I'm going to actually, Denise had a really nice complaint for me. So I'm going to use that as the roadmap for my presentation. Let's see here, all the other things of this. Okay. So, I'll just kind of start in response to, Denise's claims on February 9th. Okay, Denise stated on the 9th of February 2026, Attica City Clerk Joanne Broadwater asked Councilman John A. Smith at approximately 11 minutes and 30 seconds to please put in writing where he was living. Okay, and I stated, and of course she caught me off guard because she's talking about my personal information in a city council meeting. And I stated I had it sent up there to the corner house, corner of Main and Cannon Streets, and there's a guy there that moved out, and I guess when he moved out, he forwarded all the mail, and it just canceled everything, so I haven't got to the post office. And so then, of course, she says, Council Smith admitted it's not living where he was claiming in Attica and residence. I don't live at the corner of Main and Canada, and I think this is a complete mischaracterization of my address and where I'm living. I was displaced, and I think Patty knows this. I was displaced, and I was the only councilman that was displaced by redistricting because of the census of 2020. And so it was discussed that I would have 400 South Union, because that's where I was, and that I would eventually move to the other property that's at Canada and Main Street. And so I wasn't up there with that because I didn't have to move up in 6 months prior to the next election. And so it was kind of fluid for me, in my opinion, because as long as I moved to that other address 6 months prior to, then I would still qualify to run in District 5, I think still District 5. And so it wasn't a real big deal, honestly. And I only had 2 pieces of mail that I sent there. And I thought that it was appropriate to send the Fountain Trust. I opened up a bank account for Fountain Trust to have my 3 months worth of pay and time to be put into Fountain Trust, which was right across from that house. And I also had the any kind of city mail, like case of whatever sent it. That's the only mail I had sent there because I'm still living at 400 South Union and I have no intention of moving for a couple of years. Okay, but I just was sending that out there because it was my intention to move to that location. And this whole thing has just been mischaracterized. I mean, there's nothing more to it than that. And what happened, there was a fellow up there, and it's a work in progress up there, but it's definitely a livable place that's livable. And the fellow that was living in there was doing driveway work for me as a trade-off. And he's getting mail there also. And I got upset with him because he left 2 burners on the stove and for quite a few days and then almost burned the place down. And so I asked him to move out. When he moved out, then they changed the mail and then the mail got kicked back. Well, I only had 2 pieces of mail at that time and they both got kicked back. And this brought it to my attention, which she should have brought it to my attention, in another form besides that. But of course, that was a narrative for them. And that's just that's kind of what's happened there. And I didn't, and she wanted me to get a new address or make a big production about my address. And I was like, I'll just go to the post office and ask them to keep sending that mail. And still, there's only 2 pieces of mail that get sent there. And I mean, everybody just made more deal about this. So, but I think it's also important to point out the date, okay? That was on February, and I'm using Denise's complaint as a roadmap here. On February 9th, okay, this is at city council meeting. So what happened, okay, prior to February 9th? February 6th, 2026 was the final cutoff for all the candidates running into Franklin. Okay, so it's kind of interesting how this all came about on the 9th. Okay, then going down to the next point on her complaint. Councilman Smith resides at 2217 Robin Hood Lane. And I'm receiving a homestead credit. Okay, well, this is sensational, right? $675,000, right? So what she's trying to do is make it look like I'm winning $675,000. That'd be great. But it's not. It's an extremely small fraction of the total number that she's talking about. And when we talk about my homestead, okay, I think all of us have mortgages, and I'm happy enough to be in year 29 out of 30 years on that house, okay? And I do have an escrow. And I don't think about it. I honestly just don't think about that at all. And so when I saw again people, saying Ms. Robinson's going crazy on Facebook like she normally does, it came to my attention, and I was like, wow, I guess I never really thought about that. Tying the extension to the residents. I just it didn't even dawn. And so I immediately, and she's right, I went as quick as I could, and I called, I didn't go to the courthouse, I called her, and I had a lengthy discussion. And of course, they had her personal information, and were quite worried about her digging around and crawling around all over my information. And I talked to them, and I said, well, I think that probably, this is the right thing to do. And I did it immediately, and so, I do actually have a copy of the documents here, but I'm sure that neither of them have, one just came across in the mail today. Got a file, yeah. And so by no means am I going to disagree with the fact that I was receiving homestead credit up there, but I will disagree with the fact that it was strictly an oversight and there was no ill intent whatsoever, and it was corrected immediately. And even to her point, her statement, he went the next day, okay? And so I think intent is everything here, because, and also the other thing too, is keep in mind, in Tippecanoe County, were they worried about it? I mean, no, Tippecanoe County, that's where the problem comes from, because they're the ones that are not getting money. Not Fountain County. Fountain County doesn't care one way or another, because in Fountain County with the LLCs, they're getting full vote. We're getting full vote on everything. There's no homestead deduction, so the county gets all the taxes, and so it's a wonderful thing. So this homestead thing is just overblown completely, but it's the center of their argument. That's pretty comes up here. If I start giving you some of these, I'll be able to find things you did. Okay. These are the two pieces of information. I only have one for you guys. So this is the one that was spent today. This is a copy of this one. This is my original. As you can see, I've been hit pretty hard. I think it was to the tune of probably $7,000 to $8,000 in documents. That's what's currently up there.
So
It's paid.
I just want to clarify, the $8,000 was what you owed and have paid?
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, well, no, what they did was they took it off. And then they charged me, and then the bank came through with the escrow and paid. They paid it, and so.
So what you're saying is you paid back taxes for having lived in Fountain County during that?
No, this is on the homestead exemption. So when I removed the homestead exemption for the last 2 years.
Right.
That came off, and then so I don't get that credit.
Right.
And so then that credit said, okay, you owe a bunch of money right now.
Right.
So that's what I did.
That's the difference.
Yes,
Okay,
that's the
that's what-
difference, yes, yeah. And that's just to prove that, and that's just to prove what she's saying, okay, about the homestead exemption. And I don't have any disagreement with what either one of them are saying. Okay, let's see here. So honestly, just because the property is zoned light industrial, I mean, that doesn't change the fact that I see it. Okay, it really doesn't. And and it was an argument that was a problem, then I would guess that somebody from the zoning at City of Attica would have talked to me 6 years ago about it. And so nobody has ever said a word to me about it. So. And then she goes on to state, the property at 430, okay, is, not in livable condition. So, the house is in livable condition, has running water, 2 bathrooms and a shower, connected to city sewer, heated with gas, a gas furnace in the cold months, has washer dryer, has refrigerator that's been plugged in and with food in it. Sink in the kitchen with running water. The occupant of the house was asked to leave because 2 of the 4 burners on the stove were left on high for days and created a dangerous situation. Yards move regularly, and there's a raised garden beds, with beets and lettuce and celery growing them. Okay, in the back. Okay, the next item is on, May 11th, or I'm sorry, yeah, May 11th, 2026. Councilman Smith, at approximately 51 minutes and 28 seconds into the council meeting, began arguing with both, Attica City Clerk Joanne Broadwater and, Mayor Larry Grant regarding the responsibilities of the council after Joanne had passed out paperwork from the state that explained, job rules and responsibilities, okay? So, I do have, actually the documents from that. I just wanted to be thorough and address each one of these parts of the complaint, even though they won't really have any bearing on this, discussion here. This is the roles and responsibilities. And this came, and this package is a little different because this is a photocopy that came off of this AIM, there was an AIM kind of online thing that they wanted us to take part in, and we didn't, because we didn't have enough time, didn't know about it. 0 out of 5 councilmen took part in this, but she wanted to make sure that we knew all of our roles and responsibilities. And then she also, I believe this is just off the ordinance for the city of Attica for all the other roles, but these, of course, were not in the same format whatsoever. They weren't in the same format in this as this particular photocopy. And she went on to belabor those were all of the roles and responsibilities of the city council. And I disagreed with it. And since I disagreed with it, the clerk. You will see that this is the minutes. And this is what I read. Councilmember Smith, Councilmember disagreed with Indiana law regarding the authority of third-class council people. So, and the reason I disagreed with it was because it was not a full description and roles of the city of Attica or third-class city council members. And that was struck from the minutes.
Well, I understand your position here, but this is city council business.
I know, I want to do it as I'm going to the point, okay,
Okay.
and as I mentioned that, okay, so moving on to the next one. Oh, okay, also, May 9th, okay. Dates for it. May 11th just happened to be right after May 5th, 2026. And May 26th, May 5th, 2026, was the primary election results. Okay, so everybody found out who won and who didn't. Okay. So at an hour and 55 minutes into the meeting for the second time this year, where his residence was located, Attica City Clerk Joanne Broadwater asked Councilman Smith at approximately 1 hour and 55 minutes into the meeting for the second time this year, where is his residence located? All right, and this was during our roundtable, and she completely blindsided by this. Mr. Robinson has a complaint, said that he stated that he received his mail at 430 East Main Street, that he does not live there. Clearly, the mayor and the clerk had a plan to make the council look bad, because we did not attend an online meeting. Ms. Broadwater blindsided me during the roundtable discussion, and she said, I checked your copy of your driver's license and it says you are living in West Lafayette. Now, she said that in the public hearing. I never said that I was living in West Lafayette. She said I was living in West Lafayette. She stated January mail, which was the instance where for one time my mail got returned. The mail was returned saying you're not living at your address at 430 East Main Street. I never said I was living at 430, East Main Street. But she, again, is creating this, and she also used my address. Now, of course, everybody knows my address. But in the hearing, clerk used my personal address, my addresses again. And she said, for my personnel file, okay? And she said personnel file twice. I said I'm not living at that address, but receiving mail, which was true. I'm receiving 2 pieces of mail, and it was all discussed in previous council meetings. She was a part of it. She had 5 months to ask me between, but decided to reveal the information from my personnel file to the public. She had 5 months between February, early February, and then early May, and it's all coinciding with the election. I never stated any of my addresses that I was associated with publicly, because it is private information. Ms. Broadwater was completely aware of the fact that I was being displaced from my current district borders, and that it was my intention to move to the new location with that address that the mail was being delivered. Clearly, she knew about it. It's interesting about the timing of Ms. Robinson's filing of this complaint. So, Ms. Robinson filed this complaint on June 26th of 2026, which coincides with the announcement that Councilman Dwayne Roderick had retired from the council, and that Leslie Davis, who won the primary, would be caucused into the council, and that council seat 6 months earlier than was expected. Leslie Davis was sworn in to the council on July 13th. So those are kind of some of my responses there. I've got a few things that I'd like to read. And I've got myself kind of out of order here. This is an affidavit. Or not affidavit, it's sworn statement, sorry. I've got all 3 company guys. I think these are more important, so you too long. My name is Brian Driver, and I live at 202 West Monroe Street in Attica. I am submitting this on behalf of Johnny Smith. I moved to Attica in May of 2020 from Tippecanoe County, and I met Johnny somewhere in the time frame of June or July of 2020. We developed a friendship that has lasted since then. For the better part of the first 3 to 4 years I have known Johnny, I have probably been at his place at 400 South Union Street hundreds of times after work, after local sporting events, small get-togethers, or just to watch sporting events. Purdue football, basketball games, or professional games. There were stretches from spring months to late fall that I probably was over at 400 South Union address 5 to 6 days a week at some point. Although I knew he owned other properties, Johnny never led me to believe otherwise, that he did not live there in the apartment upstairs. My 202 West Monroe address is around the corner from Johnny's 400 South Union Street address. In fact, my backyard butts up to the alley and his property at 400 South Union Street. My kitchen window looks directly at the entire 400 South Union Street address. I am also employed by onboard meetings as a senior sales development manager, work in software sales, and work entirely remote from home. Most every day, my mornings begin with coffee and a glance out my kitchen window, then lunch or dinner, and once again looking out my window. I can tell you far more days than not, I see Johnny or his vehicle parked outside the 400 South Union address. I have also been head varsity baseball coach at Attica High School for the past 5 years. Johnny Smith has been our press box announcer for home games that entire time. With 12 to 15 home games each season, Johnny has probably only missed a handful of games for us in that 5 year, in that 5 year, and 60 to 70 games from March to June every year. Those reasons he missed were for city council meetings, vacation, or work-related travel. Johnny has also been a guy I knew I could count on to help with most anything. It didn't matter whether it was renovation projects, hauling anything, operating a skid steer, picking up or returning rented equipment, or driving an hour each way to help me load and pick up something for the baseball field. Johnny has asked nothing in return, always supported and understood this was all for supporting our local community. This is certainly not in character for someone that's being accused of not being a part of our Attica community. I think the negativity and attacks in our community over the last several months is embarrassing to all of Attica, and I, like most in our community, are over it. It is the belief of most, it is all politically motivated and in fear of something like losing control. In several social media posts on allegations of the non-residency of Johnny Smith, one or more of the main petitioners went on record of saying through comments that this was more about power and control being lost, and one of the exact fear mongering quotes by a petitioner was, "Watch what happens the rest of the year. Johnny now has the supermajority on the city council, and he, Jimmy, and Leslie are already trying to change a law." A comment on former fired police officer Edward Durnell's Facebook post on June 13, 2026. I think comments like this by these petitioners prove their own illegitimacy of their claims. Their misinformation is defaming and shed real light on what their true motive and end game is. I was around 4 years ago when Johnny Smith ran for city council and lost. I remember being a part of the petitions to allow him to run, proving his residency and ruling from the same board determining his residence here in his Attica district was legal and allowed to run then, but lost. None of this was an issue for these same people at that time, but now it is. The reason is obvious. These are just my own opinions. In conclusion, what determines residency for someone that has had multiple properties, I believe a big component is where they lay their head. Over 183 days a year, I can pretty confidently attest to that part, probably second only to Johnny Smith himself. I can also attest that Johnny is active in the community, supported, and a listening ear to those that live in his council district, but also all the residents of Attica. For those reasons, I believe Johnny Smith calls Attica home. Thank you. I, Brian Driver, declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct and to the best of my knowledge. That's the first one. And here's the second one.
Others in February's. Others in February's.
Okay. This is from David Oaks. David Oaks at 400 South Union Street, Attica, Indiana, 47918. July 23rd, 2026, Fountain County Election Board. Reason, sworn statement of David Oaks. My name is David Oaks, and I make this written statement in support of Councilman Johnny Smith. It is my understanding two complaints have been filed against Mr. Smith regarding his residence in the city of Attica. I have known Mr. Smith since 2021. I met him at the Moose Lodge and we became good friends over the last 6 years. I have a small circle of friends, but I was known to frequent many places, including the Attica Moose, Bazaar Farms, Bakery and Cafe, 41 Diner, Pop Kinney's, and Crossroads Family Restaurant. Many times, Mr. Smith and his partner, Gigi Gross, would accompany me to these locations to eat. In the last 7 years, my health has been deteriorating. As an Attica resident for many years, I was able to live by myself. In the last 3 years, my health went into a downward spiral. During this time, I needed a lot of help getting through each day. Johnny and Gigi were my were my friends, and they were there to do the difficult things, including washing wet clothes, keeping my medications organized, and help with showers. I spent many nights at 400 South Union Street because I was too weak to be in my house alone. Councilman Smith and Gigi purchased a lift chair for me to sleep in at 400 South Union Street. In my house, I had a shower tub, but I could not step over the tub. Many times I have showered at 400 South Union Street because there was a walk-in shower. I have had many doctor's appointments to help me learn what was causing my decline. Johnny and Gigi scheduled these appointments and made sure I got there. As medical issues became more complex, they became my advocates. I have family in Southern Illinois, but they are too far away to help. My sister Jane asked Johnny and Gigi to step in and help to finalize things. I was eventually diagnosed with stage 5 Parkinson's disease. Johnny and Gigi took care of all my loose ends, including cleaning and remodel of my Harrison Steel housing rental unit. I now reside at the Waters in Covington, but my mailing address is 400 South Union Street, Attica, Indiana. Mr. Smith is my power of attorney. My mail is received at his residence. Mr. Smith and Ms. Gross are active weekly in my medical affairs. Mr. Smith and Ms. Gross have made all the arrangements for my end of life. Without the daily help from Johnny and Gigi, my outcome would have been much worse. I, David Oates, declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing statements are true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. Leslie Davis, I believe, has also submitted an affidavit, and I think you guys have that. Sworn statement regarding personal observations of Councilman Johnny Smith's residence. Sworn statement of Leslie Davis. My name is Leslie Davis. I make this statement based solely upon my own firsthand knowledge and personal observations. Where I reference conversations with Mr. Smith, I do so only to explain how I became to know the facts described. I do not offer legal conclusions. I offer only the facts I personally observed for consideration. I have personally known Councilman Johnny Smith since approximately 2019. From that time forward, I consistently knew him to reside at 400 South Union Street, Attica, Indiana, in the apartment above the brewery. Throughout the years I have known him, I have consistently observed him living at the residence and never personally observed facts that caused me to believe his home was elsewhere. Over the years, I called on Mr. Smith's residence at 400 South Union Street on numerous occasions for both official and personal reasons. We met to discuss city council matters, election-related matters, community concerns, and other business. I also visited socially with Mr. Smith, his significant other, and mutual friends. These visits included informal gatherings, meals, holiday celebrations, and fellowship in his home. I personally attended gatherings at the residence where family members, neighbors, friends, and out-of-town guests were present. I observed Mr. Smith routinely opening his home to others and use his residence in the ordinary course of daily life. I am professionally aware that Davis Drugs delivered prescription medications to Mr. Smith at 400 South Union Street. I also personally observed Mr. Smith receive medical attention at the residence on 2 occasions. I include this fact only because it's another firsthand observation that reinforced my understanding that this was the residence where he lived his daily life. I do not intend to disclose any medical condition or treatment. My knowledge of Mr. Smith's other properties developed over several years through personal interactions. He discussed with me his ownership of various properties and renovation and investment activities. He explained that the West Lafayette property had previously been his marital residence and that his adult son, his son's partner, and their family lived there after the divorce. After they moved out several months ago, Mr. Smith and his significant other showed me the property and the renovations that were being completed in preparation for placing the property for sale. He also showed me properties on Main Street, Pike Street, and Attica that he was renovating in preparation for sale. Throughout these events, including renovations, property purchases, sales, and other real estate activities, my own observations remain the same. I continue to know Mr. Smith as living at 400 South Union Street. That is where I consistently met with him for council business, social visits, and other interactions, and where I observed him hosting family, friends, neighbors, and guests. Based solely on my firsthand observation for several years, the fact that Mr. Smith owned and managed multiple properties never changed my understanding that this home was located at 400 South Union Street. I respectively submit this statement only to assist the Fountain County Election Board by proving truthful, factual observations with my personal knowledge. I declare under the penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. Respectfully submitted, Leslie Davis. Okay. I'll try this after. Okay. As the election board knows, the election commission knows, that I was challenged in 2022. I wanted to run on the Republican ticket. And at that particular point in time, I received a challenge. And the challenge was kind of like a technicality. You need to have 7 days in order to switch your voting district. And even though I lived here. And I presented an affidavit, okay, that was signed by and I'm sure you guys have a copy of it, that was signed by 14 or 15 neighbors, and they were immediate neighbors around 400 South Union. And they attested that I sleep there, I live there, and that's where I call home. And the election commission found that that was my residency.
I'm gonna stop you right there. That is not correct. It's not correct. And I know that's been passed around on Facebook and commented on and asked for the commission members to be thrown off for finding you to be on. This issue has only come before us one time. And it was not a residency issue. It was that you were not registered to vote early enough to qualify for the election. And contrary to what it says on Facebook, we upheld that. It's a unanimous vote by 2 of us and the former person, Bob Shelby, and found that you were not eligible to serve on the board, and it was not a residency issue at all. That was not what was brought before us. Only the fact that you were not registered in enough time. And it was unanimous that we kept you off the ballot. So we want to make that clear because there's so much false information
And that is also in 2023.
going on.
It's not 2022,
2023.
because Again had a municipal election in 2023. That was the
Yeah.
last municipal odd year election, and then the elections moved to even years. So the order of things was you were challenged, and yet you were challenged on residency and voter registration. But we sent word to the Indiana Election Division, and we received an email back, and the issue was not your residency, the issue was your voter registration. And so we didn't even address residency, we addressed voter registration. And you were not qualified as a registered voter at that address. Was
Correct.
why you were not allowed to be on the ballot,
Yeah.
the Republican primary ballot.
Right, and I ran as an independent, but what I will state though, that I still need to have the residency requirement, okay? And I do believe on that document, because I just looked at it, and it did state that the board found, or the commission found that I was a resident. I think it says on there, actually.
If anyone wants to see the minutes, I have copies of them here, but the bottom line was that we voted that you were not qualified to be on the ballot.
My memory serves me right, it was a 2-part thing, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it. I
I have a copy of it, yeah.
You do, okay.
Yeah, but that's, so what I'm telling you is that this is the first time that we are going to decide on the residency. We did not decide on the residency.
No, I wasn't there to decide residency, but I think that there was kind of like a sub-comment that said that you guys did find that it was my residence. I think.
That's not my knowledge.
We can go back and look at it.
Well, it doesn't matter for this issue today.
And then I will go ahead and state that also, of course, I've had all kinds of harassment, and there was, this one here. So I get through some of these back ones. I had criminal charges that were brought against me from Fountain County, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. And but in a nutshell, the criminal charges were at 400 South Union, and it was about in Butte, okay? And the location there, 400 South Union, is kind of got a nickname brewery. And because I was living there, of course, I spent a lot of time looking at the homestead brewery laws in the state of Indiana. And so we started making beer, and actually we make some really good stuff. And there was somebody complaining, and so excise came in. And they filed a they wrote me tickets, this is what happened. And I went to court. Went to court over it in Judge Campbell's court. And one of the key elements to the argument, okay, because they were saying, well, you're making alcohol illegally, you're distributing alcohol, all kinds of different things associated with it. But it all fell under the home brewing laws. And at the end of the day, it was about residents. And this court, Judge Campbell found in my favor on all four charges. And it's been expunged from the record. And so I have a copy of this that I'd like you to look at, but I'd like to have it back or destroy it, since you're gonna have the only copy of it. So, but I think that this is important because it also establishes my residency. Actually, I have two copies if you use this one, so make it easier.
Are you still making beer?
No, we stopped doing it. We figured it wasn't worth it. About done here.
Donnie, I don't wanna be not very bright on this, but I don't see anywhere on here that proves you're a Fountain County resident by this lawsuit.
So,
She has
so
your
in
other
a
address.
nutshell, though, the main argument was about home brewing. And so the argument was, is this my residence? Because if it was not my residence, then I would have been charged with making beer illegal and that kind of thing. But because it was determined my residence, they threw everything out.
So where does it state here that about your residency?
Cause it has your other address, Tippecanoe County on it.
It does? Let me
Yes.
see. I don't know why it's not on there. This is the expungement record, so. But I mean, I don't know if you get a chance to talk to Judge Campbell, but that would be.
Well, if it's expunged, she's not gonna give me any information.
Well, that's true, that's true. Well, I just wanted you to see that.
We're going to give this back to you
Okay.
because we've observed it
Okay,
and we
Yeah.
wanna be careful with your information.
but I'm under oath, so that is that was the outcome.
Okay,
So. Okay, just about this. Okay, so,
Donnie, I'm gonna ask you, do you have the copy of the original charges rather than the expungement?
I can get that to you.
That would probably be helpful,
Yeah, I can for sure, yeah, absolutely.
because there's not gonna be any record of it in here being that it's expunged.
Okay, yeah, but I definitely can get that to you. Okay, and this is the last. This is the last sworn statement that I have. And I think this will kind of pull it all together. As when I filed Miss Rout, or when I followed Miss Routz's complaint, okay? And if you also look at the dates associated with everything, Okay, I couldn't figure out what the heck's going on because I'm just getting attacked on social media, I'm getting harassed. They're getting my passport information, they're posting that up there, and it's like, what the heck is going on? Why is my information out there? Why is it everywhere? How did it happen? Well, I've got this affidavit I want to read to you. Tiana Pickett, 1773 East of 1300 North, Attica, Indiana, 47918, July 21st, 2026. Fountain County Election Board, sworn statement of Tiana Pickett. My name is Tiana Pickett. I make this written statement to memorialize my firsthand known experiences from the time I was employed by the city of Attica as a utility clerk. As a utilities clerk, it is my responsibility to take utility payments from citizens and update utility records on a daily basis. I work directly for Miss Joanne Broadwater, the clerk treasurer for the city of Attica. In my second week of employment on June 23rd, 2026 at about 9 in the morning, Miss Broadwater stormed out of her office after finishing a phone call and approached me while sitting at my desk. She was clearly upset and proceeded to blurt out loudly, "We need to get rid of Johnny Smith." Confused, I inquired with her, "Why do we need to get rid of Johnny Smith? Isn't he a councilman?" Miss Broadwater, now even more bothered by my question, continued, "He doesn't live here. He needs to be removed because I don't care," like Jimmy Pointer, Leslie Davis, and Beth Irwin. Still not knowing how to respond to Miss Broadwater, she asked me to allow her to sit in my chair and use my computer. She stated, "I will show you why he does not live here." She proceeded to aggressively go to the Beacon GIS site from Tippecanoe County and search the property that belonged to Mr. Johnny Smith, clearly knowing his address. I had never met Mr. Smith or talked with him. I was very uncomfortable that this was not any of my personal business and clearly to me had nothing to do with my clerical position. Miss Broadwater made me read the computer screen and she repeated, "He does not live here." I was shocked that she would reveal Mr. Smith's personal information to me. I know that all citizen information is held in trust. There are both common sense and legal rules associated with this privacy. Miss Broadwater then stated that Kaylee Carnahan had decided not to run again because of certain existing council members and potential members. After this event happened, I asked some questions and learned that a handful of Miss Broadwater's close associates were pursuing Mr. Smith with residency complaints, using the same information that was presented to me. I do not believe that these complaints would have been possible without the sharing of Mr. Smith's private information by Miss Broadwater. In my opinion, Miss Broadwater is not a nice person. She said on multiple occasions, "God, you look tacky." I suppose this was in response to the business attire that I was wearing. I was disappointed in her, but continued doing my job, even though she made me feel inadequate regularly. I am not the only person that was working in the clerk's office that was exposed to this behavior, but I can only speak from my known personal experiences. The deputy clerk, Mindy Hubbard, on occasion appeared frustrated with similar scenarios. Another memorable event took place that involved Mayor Grant and Miss Broadwater. Miss Broadwater was frustrated with Mayor Grant's wife Tammy because she was posting many comments that were not becoming of the office. Miss Broadwater yelled from her office, you, Larry Grant, need to tell your wife, Tammy Grant, to shut her effing mouth and stay the F off of Facebook. She is creating problems." So, she says, "I do not think it fair to disclose any person's private data, including Councilman Smith's, but to help create disruption and discord by weaponizing this personal data should carry some form of penalty to Ms. Broadwater and her proxies. I, Tiana Pickett, declare under the penalty of perjury that the foregoing statements are true and correct and to the best of my knowledge and belief." So finally, we figured out the source where all this has come from, because my information was not put out there by me. And honestly, how do people come across this information? It's clearly been weaponized, and also the clerk put my information out there on the public in the public forum when she surely shouldn't have done that. So I am a resident of Attica. I have been a resident of Attica and I eat and sleep there and. There's not too many people that would disagree with that. Only the people that have some political gain or worry that they're losing, their side is losing. And I have one other statement here, I think. Yeah. Right here, and this is Facebook post number 3 that I sent to you, and this was off of Mr. Grinnell's page. Again, it's Miss Rousen talking to Tanya Rifle, I don't know who she is. He recently changed his driver's license to Attica from what I've been told, and he filed his taxes using West Lafayette address. The only time he changes anything into Attica is after he's called out on it. I called him out months ago regarding his homestead exemptions, and within a week, he went to the Tippecanoe County Courthouse and had his homestead deduction taken off, as well as changed the mailing address to his West Lafayette property taxes to the property behind McDonald's. That was done long after he had been sworn in on the city council. Just watch what happens the rest of the year. Attica is in serious trouble. Johnny now has the supermajority on the city council, and he and Jimmy and Leslie are already trying to change a lot. Okay, so if you want to know what this is about, this isn't about my residency at all. This is about a gimmick, okay, that was an oversight on my part that was corrected. I went and corrected it immediately. And so the intent is everything. And my intent is always to return to Attica when I leave. And I'm still here. And also one other thing, since I'm such a crummy councilman, okay. I wanna let you guys know I have something for you here. And this is just real great. You guys can keep this. This right here is a grant award from the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. And as a councilman, I took the initiative to write grants for the city of Attica. I wrote 2 different grants and we received 1. And we just got notice of it on July 10th. And that's not something that's typical. Councilmen take extra time and initiative to do things for the citizens. And I just wanted to let you all know that I do put in the extra effort as a councilman. I enjoy being a councilman and I'm doing a good job for the city of Attica, even though you may hear something different. So anyways, sorry about the long drawn out stuff, but.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask him a couple questions?
Yes.
How long did you say you lived in Attica?
Well, we bought properties were purchased down there in 2019, and so I would say 2026 is when I started sleeping there.
2026?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, 2021, I think.
What's this about Spencerville that was filed?
Oh, that's great. I forgot to talk about that. Okay, the Spencerville claim. I don't have that because I didn't think she would bring that up. But early on in February, the early part of the election cycle for the primaries, Denise posted out there on Facebook about the Spencerville claim. And it's thank you for reminding me about that. It's incredible. Okay, she was saying, and she sworn testimony that this is me and my son. But it's honestly not. Smith is a common name. And I told her on Facebook, take it down. I said, take it down. It's not true. It's not me. And I never lived in Spencerville. I don't even think I've been in Spencerville. I know it's south, but I've never been there. And so it's just a true coincidence that she found a lawsuit that had my name and the same name as my son Caleb. I had 4 sons. And Caleb is definitely one of the names. And I looked at it and I'm like, no, this isn't us. And I told her it wasn't. And so she still is, even though she has been told it's not true, she still is making it true. And that's a problem because this defamation and disparaging my character has been going on way too long. Way too long. And that's what it's all about. It's all about make me look bad, get rid of Johnny, and it starts right at City Hall.
May I ask a question? Okay, you swore that you own Codina now?
That is correct.
Okay, I have paperwork taken off of the state website regarding this, the Secretary of State, pages 5 through 16. And it shows that it is still in Caleb's name on page 16.
And it may need to be updated.
I think he answered that when
He answered my question on that, because I did question him about that corporation, who owns it, and he informed us that he has now ownership of it,
That's
and
right.
he needs to amend his corporation with
And I'll
the
do that.
division of the
Okay.
Secretary of State's office.
Okay, and he's also trying to blame Joanne Broadwater for informing us of all this information. She did not. If you looked at page 25 of my packet, 26, 27, sorry. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, there is a date on there, January 7th of 26. So it did not come from the interaction that she supposedly had with Tiana. So
That's.
it is public record. Everything that I have presented is public record. You can find it anywhere on the internet. GIS is great for giving information. I can go in and look up all my tax information. I can look up anybody's. If I have a name or an address, all you do is have a name or address. You don't even have to have the name spelled right. If it's close, it will find it. And so, and we know that all the properties in Attica is under Codina. And if the property in West Lafayette, the fact that he changed it the day after he was called out on it, I'm sorry, but ignorance of the law is not defense of the law. We were taught that from justice eons ago. It is not a defense. By not changing and deleting that homestead credit when he moved to Attica in 21, that's fraud. Because you're getting a deduction, a very large deduction on a home that you're not living in.
Where is the fraud? Where is the fraud? You keep saying fraud and you just keep digging yourself a hole.
I'm not digging a hole.
Oh, hold on just a second. Do you want this?
I just have a comment about the motive part of it, because he mentioned that earlier. I have one motive in this. And that is to have a legal counsel. Because if there is a close vote out of the 5 members, say it's 3-2. And whatever the issue is that's being voted on, somebody can come back and say, well, wait a minute. His vote don't count because he's on there illegally.
But
So
I'm
now
not.
they're
I think that's what we'll determine.
right, but let me. That's where I do not, that's what my motive is. He brought up the motive, that's my only motive. And I'll be honest with you, I absolutely hate politics. I've never been involved in politics and I absolutely hate it. I do support people that I agree with. And I probably post stuff on Facebook that I support. But as far as being involved in an office or an election or running for an election, forget it. And it's because of this reason right here, and he stated it.
Okay, do you have, either of you have any more questions? Any of the three?
The only thing that I want to add to this is my motive as well. My motive has nothing to do with politics. It has absolutely everything to do with our city council and the integrity of the council. And when someone does not live here, does not qualify to be on it, because once again, he may state he lives here, he may have people writing letters stating, but they're not here for us to question, so we don't know if that. We don't know if they actually wrote him, or if it's something that he.
Two of the letters are.
Are notarized, okay. On top of that. Even with the notarized letters, the taxes speak volumes. You know, the fact that he's gotten a homestead credit. It was in him and his ex-wife's name, him and Jacqueline's name, up until 2017, they got divorced, and then it got deeded over to him. So he's had a homestead credit from 2017 on that house. You can't tell me you don't look at your taxes. You can't tell me that you don't look at your deductions. I'm sorry, but anyone that does that, that's their own lack of knowledge and interest, because I want to know what I'm paying on my taxes. I want to know what's going on. I keep track of it like what I'm right. And for someone to tell me that, oh, it was a mistake. Well, it's a 6-year mistake, 7-year mistake. How? That's what I have.
I might point out also that Ms. Rousing does sit on the area planning commission, and she really did a bad thing by taking and she was doing some bad things to neighbor workers, and it's well documented. And so I think that people that live in glass houses probably shouldn't grow rocks.
Well, we don't want to get into personal
Exactly.
character
Yes, exactly.
situations, so do we have any more comments on the situation?
I do. So, since you have just moved to Attica and it's been 6 years, it seems like you're a very ambitious person. So what is your goals for Attica as far as developing it and increasing the popularity of it?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because one of my big concerns, and I believe that our council, it has just kind of went through the motions for many years. And I think they've missed a big boat about talking about poverty rate. I mean, Attica has probably one of the highest poverty rates in the county. And one of my focuses is to continue to talk about it and talk about it and start implementing things that help change it. I will tell you that since I've been on council, we have approved a 42-unit apartment complex that was not Section 8. Okay, and it's actually already broke ground on that. We approved Shepherd's Landing, which is I think 90-some unit, single family house unit, which is probably the largest that we've seen in a long time in the city of Attica. And so that's broke ground also. So, and we also helped to establish the Economic Development Commission through the council, and that's all within the first year. I mean, the things that we did, and I was also a bicentennial councilman. So, I'm really proud of the accomplishments we have. And another thing that I think that was big was the fact that we, and maybe this caused some arguments, but we would get ordinances the day of. I mean, the ink was still wet, and we're dealing with documents like this. There's no way you can read through those things and really understand what you're doing. And so what I did, I demanded that we actually get these ordinances and have time to review them. And so that wasn't popular. It wasn't. And but now, you know, we're making changes, making strides. So there are things that, like, when I make questions, they may not be popular, but it's always in the best interest of the citizens. I can tell you that. And I'm excited about the next year. I really am.
I will wrap up in our comments once we get done with, if there's any other questions.
Any other questions, anyone wish to testify to any of this?
I just want to say one thing about the Shepherd's Landing and the new apartment complex going in. Those were on our radar and was in the planning for the last 2 years, maybe 3. So it's gone before the APC. It's also gone before the BZA for the apartment complex for zoning variances. So it's been on the radar. It just went to the city council for approval within the last year that he was on it. But it's not something that he has done to improve Attica. It's something that all the boards in Attica have been working on to improve Attica.
Thank you.
So.
Okay.
Did I understand you correctly that you're on the board of zoning there?
Yes, ma'am.
So if he's living in a facility that's industrial, commercial, why have we not encouraged that it be changed to residential?
Because we're in the process of updating our zoning now. And like I have said earlier, I am not here representing the zoning board. I am here representing myself. I am not going to go over zoning besides what I have put in here, because the simple fact that I'm not representing them here today. I am a citizen.
Correct me if I'm wrong, to your question. I think it's his responsibility to go to the zoning board to request a change, not the zoning board.
That is correct.
Okay,
I did have a building permit, though, by the way, and you know, and it was never questioned during that process.
Okay, I don't want to hear anything about this. It's not anything we can control or that we're gonna rule on, okay? If we've had all the discussion we're going to have from anyone here. So we'll make our comments now, if that's all right. I personally want to thank all 3 of you and other people that have written letters for the amount of work that you put into this. As you can see here, we have huge amount of documents to go over. And I compliment you all for being so diligent in making your case one way or the other. I know you've all put a lot of work into it, and I know you put a lot of time into it in coming down here to testify for all of us. My personal thought on this is that I don't want to rule on this today. I know that's probably going to be disappointing to everyone here. The problem is that we do want to take careful consideration of all the documents that were presented to us. The other thing is, we are not lawyers, we're fellow citizens of Fountain County. I had my phone on, you heard it ring. We have been calling for 3 days to the State Election Commission, asking them for their opinions on it. And he called 20 minutes too late. I wasn't gonna stop the meeting and take it. So I do want their opinion because we don't wanna make a mistake here. Your opinions are all valuable to me. Your consideration for your city is all very valuable to me. I commend you, Johnny, for writing and getting the $40,000 grant. I did hear about it in the city council meeting, and I'm excited for you all to get that developed. But that's my personal opinion, is that I would like to recess this until we get a chance to talk to the state lawyer and until we have a chance to review the documents. I don't know how my fellow board members feel.
Well, I make a motion that we do recess this and look at the documents you provided. And also speak to the election board division at the Secretary of State's office. And then we will reconvene at a later date and time with what our findings are.
Okay. I'm going to second. Who's got a question?
I apologize, but a couple of questions. What is the requirement when somebody registers to run for?
That's what I'm gonna address right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna second the
If
motion.
we don't answer your question.
Yeah,
come back
if
to
I
us.
don't answer your question, then ask again. So I'm gonna second your motion that we recess this and that we, before we leave here, we set it to another date. So that everybody here knows, if they choose to come back. For the record. I want to do a little bit of education on, filing as a candidate. Because that seems to, there's a lot of misinformation out and about on what the proper procedure is and who's supposed to be doing what. So any candidate, any person can come in and file in the clerk's office, and by law, we cannot reject that filing. We have no authority. There is a handful of reasons we can reject it. One of them is if it's past the date, past the filing date. If it's late, we have to reject it. If it is supposed to be somebody that is filing the state election commission, like the prosecutor or the judge, we have to reject it. If it's somebody that's filing on a petition process to be an independent or a minor party, if they don't have enough petitions on their, or enough signatures on their petition, we have to reject it. So we have a very small handful, of things that we can actually reject a file, otherwise we have to accept it. So there's that. Also, Indiana code says that we are not to take anything, the clerk's office, when I say we, the clerk's office cannot take anything, like I get, as long as it's on the proper paperwork, the most updated paperwork, I can't say, oh gee, I think somebody doesn't live at this address, and then I can't go to them and say, I don't think this person lives here, we should do something. Well, the only way we can do something is if one of you, and I say one of you, that's a general term. It has to be somebody, there's a filing period, a challenge period. And it's a Can 1 form, and so somebody within the district of where the person is running, so. If you want to challenge me as a candidate running for county clerk, anybody in the county of Fountain can challenge me. Anybody that wants to challenge John Smith for running a Attica City Council, they have to live in the district that he's running for. Or the county chairman of the party he's running can also file a challenge. She's not, he or she is not required to file a challenge. So. You have that. If there is no challenge. The process goes through, they get on the ballot, they're, you know.
And we cannot act until if somebody files a
Yeah.
challenge. We can't act. We're not an investigative body. We're not the candidate police. We can
So,
only act if somebody files some.
yeah. And so, that's why, if. I'm gonna say if he got on the ballot illegally, if he did not really live in Attica. Someone should have challenged him when he was a candidate. For office. We are in a whole different issue right now, of he is an elected official. And we don't have the authority to unseat an elected official. There are avenues that we can take. So we can choose to, send it to the prosecutor for investigation. Or we can vote not, if we go over all this and we get legal counsel, we have our legal counsel advising us that. Yes or no, that's the way we're gonna rule. The other way that can be unseated would be. Citizens would have to bring a civil suit in circuit court. So,
So in other words, you're saying there's a void in the law as far as technically legal residency when we're filing the paperwork. That you don't have to prove legal.
if we have no, I mean, we can't challenge, When somebody registers to vote, whether it's online, whether it's in our office, whether it's at the BMV. We send out a voter registration acknowledgement card, once it gets pulled through the voter registration system. If it comes back to us, we have to mail it, you can't just walk in and here, I wanna register, but, oh, by the way, could you give me my card? No, it has to go in the mail. And so, once if it comes back to us, then we cancel out their voter registration because it came back to us. If it does not come back to us. They become a valid registered voter, so. In this case, he was a valid registered voter when he signed up to be. I mean, well, no, he wasn't, he signed up he registered to vote. And then signed up for candidacy, he wasn't a registered voter at the address he was running for. That was the issue, so, in the 2023 election. In 2024, when he ran, he had been established at this 400 South Union address. But no one challenged him. So, it's not a secret, we put it out on Facebook, we put it on the county website. The list of people that are running and no one filed a challenge. And, there is a law, I don't like the name of it, but it's. We have to go by this and this, that's all we can do. And in here it talks about the put up or shut up law. I think that's not a very nice way to put that. But basically, it's saying that if you have a problem with someone running, then you're gonna have to sign your name on a piece of paper, and you're gonna have to come in here and testify in front of us. And a lot of people don't wanna do that, but that's what we're here for. We would, have addressed that issue of residency. Going forward with this hearing, we will recess, we have got a lot to unpack here, I mean, there's a lot of information that we were given. And I agree with Lisa that it would be very glib of us to just say yes or no right here on the spot. What we think, whether we're going to, refer it to the prosecutor or whether we're not, so.
So there's a motion on the floor to recess while we collect more. Information and data and have a chance to go over this information, and it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So this meeting stands recessed. Until, we'll set a date here. We're not gonna keep you waiting forever.
Yeah, I mean, we can either. Here.
Right. That's fine. We
And what time? It's a Friday. It's a Friday today, so. Oh, no. We don't have.
Okay, August 7th, Friday, August 7th, at 2 p.m. Is that acceptable to all involved? And again, I apologize if you're disappointed, but we want to serve all of you fair. Okay, so we're in recess till August 7th at 2 p.m. and thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for the great information you've provided us.
I heard something that was. You guys, I only heard you then, for face, easy what they on that right now. I just don't know.
Yes, that was some information.
Yes.